This is Johnny with TigerBomb MMA, and today I'm going to go over UFC Fight Night Abu Dhabi, Sandhagen versus Nurmagomedov, giving you my thoughts and predictions on that entire card. The sand will play a big factor in this fight card. It's going to be hot. But yeah, really pretty decent card, just kind of getting your feet wet after that UFC pay-per-view, the 304, when the worst possible thing could have happened in the entire world that I have yet to still process, which would be Bilal Muhammad winning the welterweight championship of the world, which it was always a possibility, no doubt, but seeing it happen is like, it's just like the PTSD that I had when Raquel Pennington won the title, which was like, oh my God, this can't get any worse. And then God is like, want to bet? But yeah, overall, this card, pretty good refresher. The previous card, 304, didn't really bet too much on it. I only had one last-minute bet that ended up losing, and I'll tell you what it was when I get to it. But it was a pretty rough card for a lot of people betting-wise, which I kind of saw. Some people did some really good stuff, but overall, it was, well, I went 50%. I went 7 out of 14 prediction-wise, and there's a couple things that happened there that were a little suspicious to me, like judging-wise, which, you know, it is what it is, but I kind of figured that it would go the way of the possible hometown favorite, or I don't know. They made it really difficult to try to live bet these things because it was so inconsistent as to what these judges wanted. But yeah, I'll give you my thoughts on this entire card, the Sandhagen and Magomedov card. Pretty solid card, like Figueiredo's on it, Marlon Vera's back on it. It's going to be great. But I'll give you my quick thoughts and opinions on the UFC 304, which would have been Edwards Muhammad. Yeah, first fight of the night. God, what a crazy one. So I had picked, what was her name? Alderline. What did Joe Rogan call her? Alice Alderleon. Alderleon. I picked her to win, just literally coin flip, because just, you know, the more impactful shots. I actually thought she did enough to win the fight. It went 29-28 in the favor of Shauna Bannon and a 30-27 in her favor. It was a split decision. I thought she did enough in the first round and in the second round. The third round, 100% Shauna Bannon. But it proved that Bannon is low level. Like, she has a very good educated lead leg, and that's really it. Other than that, you know, pretty decent off of her back, but nothing really else. Like, terrible takedown defense. Her punches weren't really impactful. She had that Dricus du Plessis blitz where her chin is up in the air and just starts blasting punches the same way that he did against Brad Tavares. It was very ugly from both of these women, but there were some really nice angles that we got from Alderline. But yeah, it is what it is. Mick Parkin defeats Lucas Brzeski. Now, I didn't expect Brzeski to get knocked out by Parkin. Parkin has just been a decision machine as of late, and Parkin just sat down on his punches, and he landed a good one over the top and knocked out Brzeski. You heard him. I was kind of expecting Brzeski to do a little bit better. So Mick Parkin gets me on the board with one correct prediction. Sam Patterson easily defeats Kiefer Crosby. That's the thing about Crosby. He's tough, right? He's a tough guy, but you're going to have to show him the way out. And typically with that, it has to be via submission. If you start punching him, he'll keep moving. He has that much pride. Patterson, he's showing how good he can be, because out on space, I wasn't too thrilled with him and his defense, but inside the pocket, he throws those hands really crisp and clean. And I think he is developing into a very good fighter. Black belt in jiu-jitsu. He handled Crosby, who is also a black belt, very easily, and very impressed by Patterson here. I covered that price tag very easily. Next bout, Modestas Bukauskas. This one was rough against Prachnio. Prachnio was just landing, for lack of a better term, can I curse this early? Heat-hard stuff, and just landing on Bukauskas. Bukauskas was doing okay, landing straight punches and whatnot, but second round comes along, one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Prachnio gets hurt. Bukauskas moves forward. Beautiful kick by Prachnio, that left high kick that just kind of question marks over and cracks Bukauskas and hurts him to recover and more or less steal that round. And then the funniest thing happens in round number 3, where Prachnio goes for a takedown. He gets taken down, and he gives up the arm triangle very easily. And it was not even fully locked in the traditional sense. He just squeezed the shit out of him, and Pratchett was like, that's enough for me. Very fun overall fight. I did consider betting Bukowskis, but he was not the guy who screwed me. Next bout, Oban Elliott defeats Preston Parson. Parson, I thought, was going to do a lot better than this. Elliott bare minimumed his way. Props to him, though. He did improve. His takedown defense is significantly better. I was very impressed because off of his back, he's really got nothing. And Parson, he kind of fell back into that trap of like, I need to win via the grappling. And there were some shots that he had taken on Elliott that were dead to rights, but Elliott just kind of recovered. Very good stuff from Elliott, but again, he is not showing me anything that indicates that he is a top guy. Preston Parsons, I thought, was developed enough to be able to take him down and use his overall game plan. But no, it was what it was. I think Oban Elliott squeaks by another one. This is the one. The Mokaev versus Kopp fight. What a absolute piece of shit fight. They're barking at each other. They're indicating like they're going to kill each other in the cage. And here I am just like, oh my God. Like, girlfriend's like, food's on the table. Like, no, I got to watch this fight. And then I tweeted out saying, like, how quickly will Mokaev shoot for a takedown? And I'm going to time it. Nothing happened. Nothing really happened for about 3 minutes and 48 seconds. And that's when Manel Kopp kind of moved forward. And he then initiated Mokaev to shoot for the takedown as a reaction. What an absolute stinker. I actually bet Mokaev. I wasn't going to bet this card, but when I saw Mokaev was like minus 165, I was like, I have to throw a little bit of money on this guy. And do I think that he won the fight? Here's my thing about it. Scoring it live, bias or not, I did give round number 1 to Kopp. And shit, I barely remember it, but I'm pretty sure I gave round number 3 to Kopp because he actually landed more significant strikes, I think, off of his back. But neither man deserved to win that fight. Mokaev, granted, yes, he threw more, but nothing significant. The more significant shots in the first round were from Kopp that actually marked up Mokaev, and it just really pissed me off that Kopp falls back into that trap where his biggest enemy is himself. Like, he was stuffing takedowns. He was more athletic. He could have just let his hands go a little bit more and he wouldn't have won the fight easily. But he chose to be an absolute idiot. And not only that, like, Mokaev wins and rumor is he's gone. He got cut. Like, granted, yeah, that's perfect. Like, screw this kid. Like, God, man, both of them should have been cut. Like, for real. Like, if Kopp's going to lose to himself every time, what an absolute joke of a fight. For real. Like, cut both of these kids. Jake Hadley defeats Colin Loughran. Now, I had Loughran. I picked Loughran, but all throughout this time period, I'm like, yo, Jake's moving up. Jake has better striking. He's a threat off of his back. He's got good jiu-jitsu. But ultimately, I think Loughran's going to be able to take him down and manhandle him enough to win a decision. When that weight miss happened, I was like, well, shit. No, what's going to happen here? Is that going to be the catalyst that Jake Hadley's going to need to look better than ever? And maybe not. But he missed weight. Looked better than ever. He did some stuff in there that I thought he would do, but ultimately Loughran would take him down. Loughran was just having none of that. He was like, I don't want to win that way. I don't want to win the easiest way I could. He had some trouble getting him down, but the same reasons why I bet against him versus Angel Pacheco were evident here. I was like, this guy doesn't move his head, terrible striking. He has power, but a better striker, a better kickboxer, guy with some takedown defense is going to be able to really mark him up, and that's what happened here with Jake Hadley. So, do we excuse Jake Hadley for missing weight? I mean, he got a win, he got fined, but at 135, he needs a true test, not one that he passed by via, as some people would say, cheating by missing weight. But overall, good performance. Colin Loughran, I think he would have, like, I didn't want to say this, but like, I would have picked Ramon Tavares to whip his ass because Tavares has some crisp striking and he would have butchered that kid's face. He needs to move his fucking head. Bruna Brazil defeats Molly McCann. I don't re-listen to my audio or my videos, but I kept thinking, did I say that Molly McCann maybe doesn't like getting hit to the body, especially after cutting all that weight? Because I do recall Belbita punching her to the belly really nicely, and then Molly reacted really atypical when she went for a takedown. Bruna was destroying that body. like destroying it, and she looked better than ever, which now shows me that yes, you may be able to train at Fighting Nerds, but if Kaio Bahalio's in your corner, you're not gonna fucking lose because Kaio was just giving her all the correct instructions. And don't get this wrong, right? Like Molly should have won. I really do think that her moving to Fighting Nerds got her the proper game plan because Bruna does not fight that intelligently. She does not fight like that. She is absolutely DOGSHIT fucking algorithm. Anyways, Bruna moving to Fighting Nerds, we have to see how she does because like my biggest worry is that she's going to become like minus 300 against some nobody, and she's going to fall back into those same traps, same you know habits, as if you will, where she's not throwing enough and she's getting backed up and she's getting hit with that overhand right. Molly was not able to capitalize and she got absolutely battered and embarrassed in her home country. Nathaniel Wood defeats Daniel Pineda. Wood looked great. His combinations look great. Pineda, kind of what we expected. If he doesn't get in the first round, he doesn't get it in the first round, he's probably not going to win. He gasses out. He got battered to the body. He got dropped a few times. Wood is also kind of like it's indicating that he's a little too small for 145 because gassed out, nearly dead Pineda was still able to manhandle him in the third round just by being a bigger dude. But good performance for Nathaniel Wood. I don't know if they're going to keep Pineda, really. Like, he's a fun guy, but are they really wanting to keep a fun loser who may or may not get finished or may or may not get a finish, opposed to like some young up and comer from like the Contender Series? But yeah, we'll see. Wood, I think, I don't know. Depending on who they give him at 145, we have to keep an eye on him because he's so fast. He is so good. He's so technical. He's better than a lot of these guys that he's fighting, but he is undersized. Arnold Allen defeats Giga Chikadze. Now, I was like, man, Johnny, Giga's going to win this fight because he's plus money. He's plus two something. I'm like, no. He's a gasser. And that was my biggest, back and forth with this fight. Like, Arnold Allen is smaller, but he can blitz. He pushes forward. He has good, pressure. And then eventually Giga should kind of tire himself out. What was interesting about this fight, I thought Arnold has to grapple with him. Arnold did zero of that shit. None at all. He was just eventually, taking everything well, like all the kicks from Giga, which take a lot of energy because he has to be explosive. Giga gassed himself out moving backwards and throwing, really hard strikes. Arnold didn't try grappling with him, and my guess would be is that had he grappled with Giga in like tried to clinch him, a takedown defense, you don't count it. You should not count that. But if it's a close round, similar striking, some judges might be like, "Oh, that was nice. He stuffed the takedown." And then if he lands a knee up in the middle, it would give the visual that Arnold is losing. But if Arnold moves forward, pushes forward, makes Giga back up, and then lands some jabs here or there, visually he's going to win the fight, and that's essentially what happened. Not to say that it was an illusion that he won the fight. He did win the fight 29-28 last second and third round. He won them. It's just that's my thought process as to why he didn't grapple. I was like, that's an interesting thing if that is the case. Next bout, Gregory Rodriguez. He just kind of bullied Christian. When I say there were some really weird game plans, this was one of them. Yes, Christian, good for you. You tried to take down Gregory Rodriguez where you thought you could probably pound him out, but your best shot would have been in the striking, and I didn't see the whole fight. Let's just say some technical difficulties happened where I could not see the entire fight, but I heard that he got a takedown on Christian. Gregory did. Gregory survived, and at that point, it's like, yo, I got taken down. Let's try to put it on Rodriguez, who has that crazy Russian roulette chin that you can hit him with your hardest shot, and nothing happens, but you jab him just right, and he'll hit the ground like nobody's business. So Christian God, he was getting bullied around there, which was nuts, right? And really tough fight for me to break down because I was seeing this very well doing tape. I'm like, yeah, Gregory kind of bullies people, and the biggest, what would I call it? The catalyst was the fight, the shared opponent with Armand Petrosian. Petrosian was just the better boxer. He was making Christian do a couple weird things, like kind of ducking his head, which he was doing in this fight. And I wondered, like, maybe if Gregory can just push forward and do that, that'd be beneficial for him. Damn, it's crazy to think that Gregory's finally going for takedowns consistently because this guy just tries to bang with you. So I'm not upset at this pick, but it was just more upsetting that some of these guys were doing some really dumbass shit. Case in point, Paddy Pimblett versus Bobby Green. Now, I had Pimblett. I thought Pimblett was going to knock him out. But why in the hell did Bobby Green go for a takedown? Like, for real, Bobby, what are you doing? And I do think that Bobby was getting a little anxious. Like, he hadn't really landed on Pimblett. I don't know what it was. Like, he didn't seem comfortable. He had his hands down. He was talking shit to Paddy, but he went for that takedown. And I'm like, but why? But why, Bobby? Why? Yeah, he put him out with that arm triangle. Another finish I actually missed because of, again, technical difficulties, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, that was a weird one. Like, I think what bothers me the most about it is that Bobby kind of gave it intentionally or unintentionally to Pimlet incredibly easily. So now it erases everything that we've seen from Paddy. We haven't seen any improvements. He didn't really look all that improved in the striking other than just being more patient, which is slightly an improvement. Oh, yeah. It was very disappointing from Bobby Green. Tom Aspinall knocks out Curtis Blades. He knocks him out and then he resurrects him. What a guy Tom Aspinall is. Like, he just made it look easy. Absolutely ridiculously easily. So, yeah, Tom is the greatest heavyweight in the planet right now. Crazy that he is British, but wait a minute. It says that he unified the belts here on Tapology. I'm like, Curtis was no, he wasn't any interim champ. What the hell? Did they just retroactively make him the unified champ? I don't know. But yeah, Tom Aspinall looked good. Curtis Blades. What I couldn't say last time is that Curtis is a chinny retard. And that's what it was. He got dropped by a jab. He doesn't try to engage in wrestling. Anytime Curtis fights anyone that has any sort of power in his punches or any sort of decent boxing, I will pick against Curtis Blades because the boy just does not learn to wrestle when he needs to. Like, he could have shot on Tom immediately, taken him down, and maybe had a good chance to knock him out. I'm not upset about it, of course, but it's like, dude, common shit for Curtis Blades. Like, when will we learn that when he's fighting anyone with any sort of power, he's probably going to get knocked out? And then finally, Muhammad versus Leon. Leon looked good in the first round. Now, as an official judge of the state of none of your business, there is an argument you can say, very similar to the argument one would make from Nick Diaz versus Carlos Condit back in the day, that Leon Edwards won round number 1, 3, and 5. If you're basing this off of damage, you can make that argument. Will I make that argument? Absolutely not, unless I'm like trying to troll on somebody. Yeah, Bilal won the worst possible way by doing literally nothing, just kind of controlling Leon Edwards. In that first round, yeah, Bilal took him down. He just slammed him. Leon got back up. He was landing significantly hard shots to the body. Uh, and Leon was winning that round back after getting taken down twice. The issue is that there was a moment there where I just saw Leon completely just stop fighting. Like, he just got hit with like a sneaky uppercut up the middle that it didn't even really look like it rocked him, but he just stopped fighting. Like, he got hit with like the reset, and then he got taken down, and then again, arguably you can say that he lost or he won that round, whatever. Lost round number 2. He proved that he is technically better than Bilal because he was able to out-grapple Bilal himself, take his back, and then even when he got his back taken, he was able to reverse in round number 4 and 5, and in 5 he actually landed that nasty elbow that cut up Bilal Muhammad. So it's not like, to me, and I'm not trying to discredit Bilal because I don't like the dude. Like, I think his fights are going to be absolutely boring. My girlfriend's like ecstatic that Bilal won because she's like, yo, when he fights next, we have a free Saturday. I can finally leave the house because we're not going to watch that shit. And she's right. But with Leon, it showed that he has the skills to beat him. It shows that he has the skills to prove that he's the better fighter, but he just stopped fighting. And I'm like, well, it is what it is, It is what it is. Now Shavkat might be next, and again, I might not watch that fight. Like, I'd rather truly watch just the highlights because I was up all night watching that fucking fight. And I'm looking at my brothers in the UK, and it's like 5 in the morning out there, and they're watching nothing happen. And I'm like, I cannot condone that. I cannot condone that. But yeah, overall, 7 out of 14 it was what it was. But at least I hope to God I don't get picked as the worst UFC MMA capper on the YouTube. So fuck that. Hopefully we don't suck again.
Oh no! We suck again!
But yeah, back to the Sandhagen versus Nurmagomedov fight. Overall, pretty good fight, and I will start breaking it down right now. God damn it. Here we go. All right, first fight of the night. We've got Sadikris Dumas versus Denis Tiuliulan. This is a rebooked fight that was going to happen a few weeks ago. Don't really know what happened. Tiuliulan, he's kind of used to fighting in the desert out here. I think he's fought in UAE Warriors in the past. The thing about Denis Tiuliulan, he is plus 180. Come back on Dumas, minus 225. Tiuliulan is a bit of a punching bag. He's a tough punching bag, don't get me wrong. Like, he will move forward, he hits hard. But if you know how to beat this guy, and there's plenty of tape out there to show you how to do it, you can beat this guy. And Dumas, my issue with him is that he's still in this developmental stage. He's 28 years old. He's a big 185er, and he's got a lot of athleticism, good kicks on the outside, good improving striking, like his good jab, decent jab, I should say. And then he is working on his wrestling. That is for sure. He is working on his wrestling. And that's really the way to beat Denis, right? Like, you either hurt him on the feet and then take him down. But if you let Denis kind of bully you, that's his main weapon. He moves forward. He hits hard. He's tough, but he's been put out many a times. You take him to the ground. Once it hits the ground, that's where you can have your way with him. He's been choked out many a times. He's been submitted a ton. He got knocked out nasty by RoboCop with a nasty elbow on the mat. And Dumas, again, he's been working on his takedowns, and I think he even promised, like, I'm going to show you the improvements. It's just that Dumas in his previous fights have not really been all that impressive. Like, yeah, he beat Cody Brundage, but Brundage is a bum. And against Abu Dhabi, he just seemed a little tentative, where Abu, very similar to Denis, just maybe a better chin and better overall game, was able to just bum rush him and then steal rounds. So this is the second time that Dumas is going to be going to Abu Dhabi, where he's a known smoker and he's not allowed to do that out there. So he might not perform as well as he should. He's minus 225. I do think he's going to win this fight. I think if he does show those improvements and gets Denis to the ground, he can probably style on him. But if Denis can just go out there and bully this kid who hasn't had a whole ton of, like, adversity in his UFC career, other than, getting beat by Josh Fremd and that giant Nurzbekov or whatever, Nurlston Ruziboev got poked in the eye allegedly. It's a tough one. It's a tough one when you're watching it live, because on paper Dumas should win this fight. Yes, Denis has decent enough takedown defense, like that is one thing for sure. But once it hits the ground, if Denis goes all out, or I'm sorry, if Dumas goes all out for that takedown, whether it be a high crotch or a body lock takedown, whatever it is, once you get him to the ground, you can have your way with him. Can we trust Dumas to do that? I'm not sold on it. I am going to pick him to win. I think he catches Denis at one point, whether on the feet or on the ground. He's taken a ton of punishment, but I would not put it past Denis to go out here and go berserk and hit Dumas with something and make him uncomfortable, to the point that he might even just lose a decision based off of the harder perceived shots. Even if they're blocked, if Denis is landing just looping punches and his hair goes flying a bit, judges are going to be like, ooh, you hit him pretty hard. So I'll go with Dumas still to win this fight. I'm going to go, man, this one's a tough one, because he's more than likely going to try to out-grapple Denis, and then it's up to him to try to get that finish. I would rather just take him money line, not any sort of props, because it's teetering between a finish at any point that Dumas can get it, or a decision. So I'm going to go with decision, actually. I think the Dumas, he has more power in his kicks than anything. I haven't seen his ground and pound be all that impressive, so I think it's just going to be rinse and repeat with takedowns. Next bout, we've got a very interesting fight. We've got Rolando Bedoya dropping down to 155 at plus 120 odds versus Herbert, minus 165. Black Country banger. The best and easiest way to describe this one, Jai Herbert is better everywhere than Bedoya. I mean, everywhere. He's a better kickboxer, better boxer. He's better on the outside. I think he's a better grappler. It's just his chin is very, very poor. He's been knocked out recently. I mean, he hasn't been knocked out recently in his last, say, 3 fights or so, but he got knocked out by a smaller man and the featherweight champion in Ilia Topuria. He got knocked out by Masaranduba. And Bedoya, he has a great chin. He has a ton of output, and he tries hard. And when I'm used to watch his tape prior to him getting to the UFC and he fought Chaos, and I'm looking at him fight, I said, this kid is a knockout waiting to happen because he is so hittable, ridiculously hittable, but he has max effort. He does train at a Shooto box. He's a true fighter, right? I think that with his activity, he can make a really close and competitive fight with Jai Herbert. And with Jai, I don't know, depending on the momentum that he's on, because he did lose his last fight, pretty uneventful to Farasiem, and the momentum of Team Renegade, where, Leon just lost. Is that going to affect him? Who knows? He does fight similar to Leon, just better boxing. His takedown defense has improved. It's such a difficult fight because, again, if Jai Herbert had any bit of a chin, I would say, yeah, he's going to just outpoint Bedoya. Bedoya's been outpointed just by getting hit cleaner. Like he got, he got a little bit overhyped by surviving Chaos Williams. Yes, it was a close fight with Chaos. Then he became a huge ballooned up fighter. His line, that is, in money line against Song Kanan, where he was like minus 220 or so. He failed there, even though he won the first round. Song was just able to bully him at a certain point. At the round number 2, he just started landing a little bit harder, moving forward. This one's tough. It really is, because it's Jai Herbert winning up until he loses. So, pick-wise, it's difficult for me to go. I don't recall initially what I picked on this one because I don't give a shit about this fight. It's going to be a fun fight, don't get me wrong. But plus 120, is it worth it? I'm going to say not in the first round. I think Jai Herbert is going to look good early. So here's my thought process on it. Jai Herbert's better everywhere. He just has to survive and not get hit. That's going to be tough with a guy who throws relentlessly and he moves forward. He has good cardio, trains with Shootle box, and he's looking in good shape. Like he was kind of a pudgy 170, and he's got abs now. So I'm curious to see how he looks here. But he does have a very sloppy technique. He is very hittable. Oh man, I'm gonna go with Herbert by a decision, but not confident at all, because I part of me is like, yeah, take the money on Bedoya, because he can crack him. But what if he doesn't crack him? What if his power doesn't translate? I don't know. I don't even know if Bedoya hits all that hard. He just happens to throw a ton. He throws a shit ton of strikes. I think. Let me see the stats on him, because he throws a ton of strikes compared to Jai Herbert. Let's see. Yeah, strikes landed per minute, 8.7 for Bedoya a minute compared to the 2.7 for Jai Herbert. So it's like, man, that absolute relentless cardio and volume from Bedoya is going to look good. But if Jai Herbert's just kind of being slicker, moving his head, because he's got good movement, I don't know if Bedoya is going to be able to like land on him clean unless he just kind of bum rushes him. Bedoya has a good chin. This is one of the more difficult ones just because it's like one guy's better everywhere, but one hit clean he probably goes down. I'm going to stick with Herbert on this one. Hope to God he gets back. Like, he's getting up there in age. I've been a fan of Herbert since he came to the UFC. I love this style. I really do like his style, but man, he is... Fuck, man. I've seen him literally knocked out cold with his eyes open, and that's not a good look. So I'm going to go with Herbert on this one reluctantly. Now, next bout, another kind of nothing fight here. We've got Victoria Dudakova versus Sam Hughes. I'm making sure now that I'm actually lining this up with OSB. I'm trying OSB for like the next few times I got a new like capture card and stuff, so hopefully everything looks cleaner. But yeah, anyways, Dudakova minus 190, come back on Sam Hughes is plus 160. I'm going Dudakova decision. Main reason is now I have my doubts about Dudakova. I faded her last fight. I thought her odds were just too damn high. But when it comes to Sam Hughes, she's very simple. She's meat and potatoes. She's got good cardio, decent boxing for a woman. um, and she is more dangerous when she can get her opponent to gas out and she can get top control and just beat him up. And in this fight, I think Victoria Dudakova, she's got the grappling background. Her striking has improved. And yes, she's undefeated. But when I see Sam Hughes, if she can't get a takedown, and I've seen her taken down multiple times by worse fighters, if she can't get a takedown and she's not fighting a gassed opponent, she doesn't necessarily look all that great. Like her last few fights, like Elise Reed can't stuff takedowns to save her absolute life. And then Jacqueline Amarin, I mean, she did cheat to get that rear naked choke off of her, so props to her, but she fought a death gassed Brazilian and she ended up winning that. Now she's losing to Piera Rodriguez, very kind of boring ass fight, but Piera just did bare minimum and won. And then she lost to Howdigi, who kind of schooled her. What's funny that people were actually picking Sam Hughes to beat Jasmine Howdigi. You bet against Howdigi if there's a woman that has massive power that can knock her out in the first round. If that doesn't happen and you don't have that, you don't bet against Howdigi. She's really well rounded. In this fight, Dudakova, not all that well rounded, but I think she's just a bit better than Sam Hughes, where she can get top control with some takedowns. Sam can get back up. She's got good everything. She's got good wrestling. She can get back up, but she's not the most athletic girl. I think Dudakova just outlands her with better strikes, and then when needed to, she can take her down. Now, is she worth betting? Absolutely not, because anything can happen in this fight, being women's MMA. But I'll take Dudakova by a decision. I think her last performance, where she had that leaky bum, where she had the what do you call that thing? Staph infection in her anus. Did I just say that? Yes, I did. And they suspended her because she kept it a secret. That is kind of messed up. Because imagine I'm up next, and I'm like, oh shit, Dudakova is out, and I slip on her like pus, and I get staph. I'd be absolutely pissed. But yeah, I'll go with Dudakova as long as she's healthy. I think she wins this fight by a decision. Next bout, we've got a very short notice bout here. We've got a former Cage Warriors champion at featherweight in the Epidemic. That's fucked up, bro. It's too soon, COVID, bro. What the fuck, bro? Plus 200 for Jordan Vucenic versus Georgian Viking Guram Kutateladze is minus 250. So this fight, I went back and forth just to make sure Jordan really didn't pose too much of a threat against Guram. Guram, yes, he had two straight losses in a row, one against a very good wrestler, and the other one against the GOAT, Elvis Brener. And when I'm looking at Vucenic, yes, he has fought at lightweight before, but I don't think he poses too much of a threat to Guram. Guram's a jiu-jitsu black belt, so is Jordan. Jordan's actually very good at getting submissions. He's very, very good. The thing is, I think it's going to be too much for him too soon. Now, do I think at a certain point that Jordan can compete with Guram? Yeah, for sure. But right now, I think it's too much. On short notice, I think Guram was already training for a guy that was trying to grapple him and take him down in Al Sawadi. Now, I will say Guram has had his last fight with Brener. Short notice, didn't go his way. He was looking really good. He was showing everything that he had in the past, like good striking, very dynamic, hits hard, just impactful with his strikes, his elbows, his get-up game, his jiu-jitsu, his top control, like everything. Like the guy looks amazing. He's in absolute ridiculous shape. The only thing I'm worried about here, and that's why I did some extensive research on Jordan just to make sure like he can't catch Guram or anything like that, or just catch him sleeping. Is Guram the same dude after those last two losses? Like he comes into the UFC, he beats Gamrot, and then loses to Ismagulov like what 2 years later or something. Like dude just vanished. I think injury, right? 3 years, yeah, a year later, and then another year later. He's not fighting very often. And then the Brener fight, That one was hard because, Brener, we didn't know Brener was a GOAT at the time, but Brener catches him clean after he ran through Brener. And then he takes a knee and called it a day. That was very hard to watch for me. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? I was hyping this dude up. But in this fight, Jordan's going to want to try to get takedowns. On the feet, he's competent for sure. He's got good boxing. Can he catch Karam? I don't know about that. Like maybe, maybe not. But from what I've seen on this guy, he's the only guy to give Paul Hughes a loss. And wait a minute, yeah, I think they share like losses. Paul beat him the last time. He beat Paul the first time in a split decision. And when I went back and watched that fight, the second fight between him and Paul Hughes, Paul was able to control him on the mat. Like as long as you don't fear this guy, you can hurt him for sure. And if he is not the better grappler, meaning that he can't take you down, you are able to maybe get some top control on him. And I don't think Grom's going to be in much trouble unless he gets hurt by something that Jordan throws. Again, I'm going to go Garam here by decision. I wouldn't be surprised if he knocks out Jordan. Jordan's never been finished. The dude is tough. Like the dude's been hurt many a time, especially against that second fight with Paul Hughes. He got hurt a ton, but he's able to survive. He was able to shoot for takedowns, kind of make Paul adjust and stop hitting him in the head. But yeah, he can get hit to the body. But the dude is absolutely tough. And then his last, 4 wins in a row, he got finishes. It's just he's not really been fighting the top level competition. Will I say is that's a negative thing for him? No, he's handling them, he's finishing them. The problem is he's he's coming into the UFC against a guy who is at the very moment just leagues above him. Had he been brought in here and maybe fought like a Chris Duncan, I'd have been like, yo, I think this guy can knock the shit out of Chris Duncan, but he's fighting Garam Kutateladze. So I spent too much time on here. I will pick Garam. I might parlay him as well. Next bout, what a absolute stinker. We've got Shamil Gaziev versus Dontel Mays. Minus 275 for Gaziev. Come back on Mays is plus 220. Now, I did make a big old point about Gaziev beating Rosenstrike. Like, oh, he's going to beat Rosenstrike, whatever. He's going to knock him out, whatever. He showed that he is terrible, but I'm not going to go away from what I saw on the tape. Like, the guy can still wrestle. He's a big body. He hits hard. Bit of a mongoloid, but I am picking him to beat Dontel Mays. The reason for it is that Shamil got embarrassed his last fight against, a top 10 heavyweight. Like, dude's fought the best of the best in that division. Now he's fighting Dontel Mays, a guy who absolutely sucks. He lost to a guy who was like 5'3" and Hamdi Abdullah, whatever. The progression of Dontel Mays' like overall game has just not gotten better, other than his get up game and his takedown defense. But he can get pushed against the cage by a guy like Gaziev. He can get hit by Gaziev. He can get taken down by Gaziev. Gaziev just really needs that one takedown and that top control, and he can just pound him out. Now, is there a chance Gaziev loses by being an absolute moron? Yeah, for sure. Dontel Mays hits hard, but I mean, he was able to take punches from Rosenstrike, who's a much better striker. I don't like this fight. It's probably going to be terrible, but this is a bounce back for Gaziev. This is a complete step down in competition. Complete step down. Like, we're giving you the bottom of the barrel in Dontel Mays. If you can't beat Dontel Mays, then, bro, give him the Mokaev treatment. Send him to the PFL. But yeah, I've got Gaziev. Now, here's the issue with, like, the prediction-wise, like, decision. The reason I'm going decision is I think that, Dontel, you need to get him to the ground to pound him out or choke him out. He typically can take a decent punch. Shamil does hit hard. But if Shamil can't get him to the ground consistently and Dontel's getting back up, it's going to become more of a clinch battle against the cage. Dontel's lost many of those fights. Augusto Sakai, for example, was able to do that to him. Just kind of get him, headlock him, and knee him. I think Shamil can do that for 3 rounds. Just hold him against the cage, continuously go for takedowns, land some knees to the body. Dontel's willing to do that and just be like, cool, thanks for the paycheck. I will probably fight some loser and then maybe win that fight. And then same thing keeps going on with Dontel Mays. You give him a step up in competition, he loses. You give him someone that sucks, he wins. Same on, same forward. But yeah, Shamil probably ends it. If he doesn't get it to the ground and knock him out in the first round and Dontel's getting back up, it's probably going to be a nasty, ugly decision. Next bout, we've got Muhammad Yahya versus Kawi Fernandes. Now, another fight where, well, this is a little bit different because Kawi is like minus 350. And I want to say Kawi's going to win easily, but I need to give the context as to why that's a horrible line and why there's a good chance, maybe not a great chance, but a good chance that Muhammad Yahya, who absolutely sucks, absolutely chinny, can possibly win this fight. Again, the desert, it's going to be absolutely hot. Yahya's more accustomed to fighting in that heat in Abu Dhabi and like UAE Warriors out in the Middle East. But he sucks. I think Yahya is. I'll give you this example. When I taped him for Trevor Peek, I did the bare minimum tape. I was like, I've seen enough. I only saw like a couple of things about him. Chinny dude, decent kickboxer, decent everything. Decent as in like, can he get takedowns? Yes. Can he throw strikes? Yes. Decent enough. Is he any good at anything? Not really. Is his chin good? No. Kawi Fernandes, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, trains out of Nova União. Good kicks, really good kicks to the body, good kicks to the head. He really is a bat out of hell early on. I think he can get takedowns on Muhammad Yahya and then maybe take his back and try to finish him in the first round. But he is a nasty gasser. If he doesn't get that first round finish, which that's what I'm going to predict, that he's going to get the finish in the first round, because, man, I've seen Yahya hit and he just goes straight down. This kid was bullied around by Trevor Peek, who I have my opinions on Peek, but if you're losing to Trevor Peek like that, just getting dominated by him and just getting pushed around by him, I think Kawi can hit him hard enough to really make him do something stupid. Like, he was having some exaggerated reactions to Trevor Peek just hitting him. And if Kawi hits him with like a nasty body kick, I mean, his kicks are really good. Black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's primarily like a Muay Thai striker. But man, if Kawi goes all out, doesn't get that finish, and he starts gassing out, Muhammad, again, decent enough, get on top of Kawi, eat away at some time, and he can edge out a 29-28 decision here. Because Kawi, again, he needs some work. And whether he's done that work or not, I have no idea. He's always going to be live for that like nasty finish in the first round, especially with a chinny guy like Yahya. But minus 350, man, that is ridiculous. Like, oh my God, you looked at, he went to a split decision with Mark Diakase, and you're like, Mark Diakase is a decent name. Mark beat him. He beat him almost every round. Maybe he had some moments there against Mark, but that was not a split decision. That was a hometown Brazilian cooking card for damn sure, because he didn't win that fight. He didn't win. He should not have won any round or any cards other than the one that was already pre-filled out, apparently, because of the respect that they have for Andre Pederneiras or whatever. But yeah, this kid needs some work. He's 29. I need to see him improve. Do I trust him out in the desert? Hell no. If it gets too damn hot out there, you're going to be so pissed that you picked him to win and he's on your parlay. Now, if he comes out here and he knocks this kid out and Yahya really easily, hooray, you cashed your money, you go about your day, you don't have to rip up your ticket. But that's what worries me the most about this kid. Like, is he going to gas out? So I think he has to go out for that first round knockout, which he's more than capable of doing. But if he doesn't, then that's where we're going to have to see, has he made the improvements? Because he should be able to run through Muhammad Yahya, no problem. Again, how's this gas tank going to be out in Abu Dhabi? So I'll go first round Fernandes, but not at all am I confident in that. Next bout, we've got Azamat Murzakanov versus Alonzo Menifield. I was looking at Menifield here as a potential underdog. He's plus 160 against Murzakanov, minus 190. They're both up there in age, 35, 36. Murzakanov, he's the better fighter, well-rounded fighter. But he will gas out. He will slow down. He does have the wrestling advantage. What I'm worried about is that when he's been fighting big dudes, he really can't get him to the ground all that much easier. Other than, Dustin Jacoby, he was able to get him down to the ground. But in that fight, he expended a lot of energy based off of his boxing style. He just hops a lot. Really in and out movement. He's got a really good jab, really good punches. But I don't know if he's going to have that kind of power to knock out Menifield. And if Menifield just kind of stands his ground and just uncorks a bomb, can he hurt Murzakanov? And I think he can. Like, Murzakanov's been hurt. He's not this like unbelievable, unbeatable fighter because he's Russian and his last name ends in Ov. Like, he's not a dominant grappler. So I think Menifield may be a decent play just to kind of bet, but prediction wise, Menifield's an absolute moron. Like, what did he do his last fight? Like, everyone's like, yeah, he's gonna knock out this unproven Carlos Olberg, and I'm just like, are you sure? Are you sure about that? He goes after him, gets knocked out in like 12 seconds. And that's, to me, is what Menifield does. He just makes these mistakes. Like, you go back, you see the fight against him and William Knight. He's way better than William Knight. William Knight got cut because he didn't throw any strikes his last few fights. And he still lost to this guy, just trying to clinch with him. And I think Murzakanov is the better striker, may not have the more power, may not have the more intimidating physique, but I think he's just a better fighter, although he might be a bit undersized. I will pick him to win. I think he wins this one by decision. I don't know if he can knock out Menifield. I don't know if he has that kind of one-punch concussive power. But if this becomes a fight where Menifield is, say, unable to land his goofy-ass strikes, because with Menifield, he's so predictable because he's so awkward with his punches. Like, he doesn't throw anything very conventional, but when you sleep on him, because you're like, this guy sucks, I'm jabbing him, he doesn't know how to jab, he just comes forward and he leaps like 10 feet and he hits you in the fucking chin, and you hit the ground. Kind of what happened with him and Jacoby. Jacoby was having his way with him, and MMA Math, Murzakanov was having his way with Jacoby. It doesn't really work that way, but it just shows you the hierarchy of who's got skills and who doesn't. But yeah, Menifield was getting pieced up by Jacoby. Jacoby kind of lets his lets his gas pedal off, foot off the gas. There you go. And then Menifield just cracks him, hurts him, and he loses the fight based off of like literally 2 strikes that hurt him. And the just the dumbest shit, like, for real. That's why Menifield is such interesting underdog for me in this fight. What if he does that to Murzakanov in the 3rd round, where he's kind of notoriously been gassed out in the past? With all that expenditure of energy, with that movement, it's kind of weary. So I don't know if he can finish Menifield early. I think he could. I think he has the ability to, but he's gonna have to get inside that pocket with Alonso being fresh. But realistically, to me, I think Murzakanov just kind of peppers him with strikes. He clinches him up, kind of eats away at Menifield's power and his muscles, building up that lactic acid, making him a little bit easier to avoid in the 3rd round, which makes me think he'll win this one by decision. But again, with that heat, who's going to be the one pushing forward? I think Murzakanov, better cardio than Menifield, especially because, Menifield's a big dude. But if you push him and you fatigue him, especially in that heat, I think Menifield will gas and be, less effective than Murzakanov if it goes all 3 rounds. So I'll go with Murzakanov by decision. But yeah, it is what it is. Kind of a goofy little fight. But yeah, I'm hoping that Murzakanov separates himself from Menifield. Like, I don't like the thought of me thinking that Menifield could possibly beat a decent fighter. And I think Murzakanov is a good fighter. He's a decent fighter, but Menifield has that weird ability to just Congo somebody with those big drums of his. Moving on, we've got Joe Alvarez versus Elvis Brener. I went back and forth on this one because Alvarez, to put it simply, he is minus 120, come back on Brener, plus 100. I'm like, plus 100 on Brener. I mean, whoa, that's a good number, especially if he comes out blonde or platinum blonde. That's like easy money. Guaranteed he'll win. But realistically, Joe Alvarez, good everywhere. Good striker, good elbows, good kicks, good knees. He's huge for the weight class, to the point that he missed weight against Moises. Great submissions, right? Even off of his back. He has nasty long chokes with his long arms. He's 6'3". The guy's an incredible talent in the lightweight division, but he cannot stuff takedowns to save his life. He can't get back up. The dude just struggles tremendously with that. And with Brener, what we know about Brener is that he's absolutely tough. He trains at Shoot to Box. He has the blonde hair. he's a dog. He's an absolute dog, and he's an absolute nightmare to deal with, despite you having every physical advantage over him. My biggest issue with this fight is that if Joe Alvarez is in a clinch position and say Brener has a body lock on him or he shoots for a blast double, will Joe Alvarez try to submit Elvis Brener? That's going to be a tall task, right? This is a guy that is getting choked out by Charles Oliveira on a constant daily basis to the point that like he has to pick up how not to get submitted. And although Joe Alvarez, I think, is comparable to an extent to Charles when it comes to like the chokes and whatnot, he's not no Charles Oliveira. So that's my biggest worry. He does love to just play off of his back instead of trying to get back up. And don't mistake it. He's going to have the striking advantage. He throws nasty everything up the middle. He even tucks his chin for a tall guy. I'm like, man, this guy has everything to be a contender. It's just that takedown defense is like the absolute worst. So I am picking Joe Alvarez, but dear God, it's going to be a sweat. If he does it, like I have a ton of confidence that if he can stuff these takedowns and he is patient and say Brener goes in for a double leg, he stuffs it and he starts kneeing Brener. Brener got really, really hurt in his last two fights. He got hurt against Garam. He got really hurt against Orobai. Nearly got finished. He got nearly finished with head strikes or body strikes. Like this guy is getting beat constantly in Brener. It's just no one's been able to finish him in the UFC because he's just so much of an absolute savage dog. So Brener is not the better fighter. He's just the better. Well, let me rephrase that. He's not the better martial artist. He's not better physically. He doesn't hit harder than Joe Alvarez, although he does hit hard. He doesn't have better kicks. He doesn't have better strikes, but he's a better overall fighter. And what I mean fighter is I mean like he will bite down on his mouthpiece and go after you and try to take you down. That's what I worry the most about if Joe Alvarez is just, oh no, I'm on my back again. Oh wait, oh no, I'm on my, no fuck, it's a list. Estoy en mi espalda. I'm on my back. That would piss me off. That would fucking piss me off. And he's like, I'm going to go for a triangle. And Brenner's just like, like, oh, you motherfucker, you don't think I deal with this shit on a daily basis? So I think Alvarez has more than enough to knock out Brener in the first two rounds. I will pick the second because I do expect maybe Brener will get a takedown. This needs to be Joe Alvarez getting back on track because with the Diakese fight, even Diakese took him down pretty easily. He was able to get back up, but like he was kind of running through Diakese on the feet. He was looking really good. And here, just pound on Brener. Do not let him get you down. And Brener doesn't really have double leg takedowns or whatnot. It's more of like body locks. And that's going to be easier for Joe Alvarez to kind of get an underhook and push him against the cage, kind of reverse him, use his big body, blast him to the body. That's what he has to do. I mean, everything to me is telling me Joe Alvarez is going to win this fight based off of his physical abilities and just how much of a better striker he is and the ability to survive Brener taking his back if it ever comes to that. But number one, don't let him take your back. Don't even give him a chance to grab you. And you better pray to God he's not wearing blonde because that blonde hair with that blonde goatee, you're screwed. So we'll see what happens in this fight, but I will go with Joe Alvarez by a TKO. I have to possibly play him because this could be one of those situations where I might regret it based off of my fear that he can't stuff the takedown. And again, like since the beginning, I thought Brener was not the best out of shoot a box, but what I've come to realize what makes him so dangerous and so good, it's not his athleticism, it's not his skill off of the mat. It's just that toughness, and that takes you a long way. Just your ability to be like, I am hurt, I don't care, I will find a way. Like he keeps fighting. Like he is in bad situations where he could just say like, that's it, hit me a few more times and I'm done. But no, he'll fight out of a situation, and if that happens here with Joel, Joel just can't get back up. That's the worst thing about Joe Alvarez. Like you can get him to the mat, and for damn sure, if Brener gets him down early, he will survive any submission attempts from Joe Alvarez. If he can get back up after getting taken down, I will be praying to the Lord. It's like, thank you very much. But yeah, I'll go with Joe Alvarez by a second round TKO. All right, next bout. All right. Mackenzie Dern versus Lupita Godinez. Minus 120 for Dern. Come back on Godinez. Now, hold up, man. For real. This fucking fight. Now, I do have the kind of standard where I don't really break down women's MMA fights as extensively as I should. And I will say these two women are probably two of my favorite female fighters. I love Mackenzie Dern, especially after her last few fights where she's kind of proven to me that she's a true fighter. She's not just this girl who has a famous jiu-jitsu dad who got into the UFC and they gave her favorable matchups. She was taking punches against Angela Hill. She utterly destroyed her, let out her her aggression after getting having to pay child support. That's why I fucks with Mackenzie Dern, right? Like she's one of the boys. Like she gets a divorce and she has to pay the dude child support, so she's broke. So she's fighting for money. I'm like, bro, like how can you not love Mackenzie Dern? Like she's one of us. For Lupita, I love Lupita because she is truly like a generational talent. When you look at what she does, people might be laughing right now when I said generational talent. Let me finish, goddammit. She can do everything. She can wrestle. She can strike. She's got good boxing. She's just tough. She's got everything you need for her to be a champion. But what she doesn't have is good fight IQ. She, on multiple occasions, has let me down because she is the better fighter in a lot of these occasions. She just goes blank sometimes. I'm like, really, man? You're the better boxer, and you're letting someone take you down easily, or you're letting this girl who has no punches drop you. You're making fights that you should dominate incredibly close, and that is my biggest issue with Lupita Godinez. Like, she on occasion has these moments of brilliance, like with the Carnelossi fight. You're like, oh my God, this girl's a new Nurmagomedov. Like she's just running through all these. Look, she took her down. Oh my God, she took her down again. Just busting her up. And then she has like a lackluster performance the next time out where it's like, where's that girl? Where's that girl that just ran through and landed like 50 takedowns on Carnelossi? Like what happened to her? And that's been a consistent thing for her. Like, let me go back and look here. She runs through Carnelossi, loses to Angela Hill. She just kind of like forgot how to shoot for takedowns, kind of got blasted to the body. And maybe that was just a little too much to expect for her. And I give her that credit. Like, oh, she got hit to the body too many times and she was just discouraged to going for takedowns. But then she ended up like accepting the fact that she was going to get outpointed. She went to a split decision with Cynthia Calvillo. Should not have done that. Like, should have ran through her. Emily Ducote, some people were saying Ducote won it, but no, like she's just going close. And then she has that fight against Elise Reed where she just runs through her, chokes her out. Like, oh, okay, Godinez is back on track. Tabitha Ricci nearly loses a split decision to a girl that she should have run through. I don't really have the highest opinion on Tabitha Ricci. And then Virna Jandiroba, yes, Jandiroba just kind of cemented herself as a number one contender, but just the absolute like lack of awareness with Godinez, where she just was tentative and she just doesn't often do what she needs to do to win this fight, despite having a whole ton of skill set. What I like about Mackenzie is that she's limited on the feet. She terrible striking, absolutely terrible. Not the best at getting takedowns. Jiu-jitsu's magnificent though. Like it is absolutely some of the best stuff I've seen anyone do. And that's why I do respect Mackenzie. Like even in that last fight where she got hurt against Lemos, she made it close enough that one could argue that Mackenzie could have won that fight. Like if this was say 2009, Mackenzie would have won that fight, despite it was a unanimous decision. Now, there was a moment there where she was able to sweep Lemos. She has all these physical advantages, but she just needed that guidance. That guidance was Jason Perillo, and thank God they're back together. So now Jason Perillo's on this card, going to be cornering Mackenzie Dern, and last time they were hooking up, she was looking better, like the way she ran through Angela Hill. She just has massive absolute power, and with Godinez, if she feels any threat off of her back, I think she's going to want to keep it on the feet, where if it's on the feet, she might be tentative, and Mackenzie's going to just land on her. The way she handled Angela Hill to me is still stuck in my head because, like, whoa, like that's the Mackenzie I need to see. And we just never got her back. And that was kind of around the same time that she kind of split from Perillo because Perillo's gym closed, but they're back together. And Perillo's also here with Marlon, Chito Vera. So I am hoping to God that she can get back on track here because with Godinez, like, I do not trust her. I do not trust her anymore. She's just so capable of doing the opposite of what she needs to do, but at least Mackenzie Dern can go out there and mindlessly try to hurt you and try to submit you. And even if she gets taken down, she will find a way to sweep. She can go for arm bars. Like, to me, I think it's Mackenzie Dern. I would have loved if there was like that negative stigma on her where it's like, oh, Godinez is still better. Let's make Godinez like plus 150. And I would have jumped all over Dern. But she is the favorite. And because to me, it's kind of like a bounce back for both women. I can't bet them. But may the better woman win. I do like both these ladies, but I kind of fell off of the Godinez train. And to me, I'd rather pick Dern, who absolutely tries to win fights, even though she is outmatched and she is getting battered, opposed to Godinez, who will just be like, I guess I'll just throw some punches. Oh God. Did I win? Oh, okay, cool, I won. Then, no, fuck that. Like, she doesn't try hard enough for me. She's kind of lazy. It's hard for me to say. I'm watching all these Olympic memes of like fat dudes memes saying like, oh, an Olympic athlete just messed up a routine, and like the fat guy's like, pathetic. I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel that way talking about a professional athlete, but it pisses me off how she doesn't try sometimes. Like, I can't keep simping for you if you're not going to try. So I will continue simping for Mackenzie Dern. I will pick her by a decision. Hopefully she can get a finish. Now, next bout, we've got the return of Tony Ferguson. Funny enough, if you don't know, if you're in the not know, these is a fight between two Ultimate Fighter winners. Tony Ferguson, I forgot which season he won. He won the one with, I think, Brock Lesnar. He was Brock Lesnar's dude. And then Michael Chiesa won UFC Live, where I think he choked out Ao Iaquinta to win. Now, Chiesa minus 140, come back on Ferguson plus 320. Now, instead of me just telling you who I think is going to win, I'm just going to stand up and show you my shirt, and you'll get an idea. Oh yeah, the party has just begun, boys. Yeah, Michael Chiesa is going to win this one by submission, probably in the third round. Tony, he is 40 years old. And despite the fact that I spent time and effort making this shirt, this bootleg Tony Ferguson shirt, it's time for Tony to call it a day. One could say, very simply put, like Tony, yeah, he's still got power. He's still got the ability to submit, but his takedown defense is god awful. He's been controlled many times. Chiesa is a magnet to getting choked out by a Darce choke, specifically by ethnic fighters. Actually, let me pull that up. That's a thing I've been wanting to start, like, the rumor, like Michael Chiesa likes getting choked out by minorities. Let's take a gander. Let's see here. Starting with Cuban Jorge Masvidal, Darce choke, 2013. Joe Lozon doesn't count. He's a cracker. Kevin Lee, 2017, rear naked choke. Anthony Pettis, 2018, armbar triangle. Vicente Luque, Darce choke, 2021. Sean Brady's a white boy. Kevin Holland, Darce choke, round number 1, 2023. It's a common thing, and who's got a really good Darce choke? Tony Ferguson. Now, if Tony Ferguson can pull this off and get a Darce on Michael Chiesa, that is his best move, but I don't think Chiesa's going to be able to fall for that, really. He's going to be the bigger dude. He's going to be able to take the back of Tony. Tony's just done, man. I hate to say it for real, but he's just not looked any bit of what we need to see him look to beat Michael Chiesa, who is a guy who I've been saying that for the longest time. Like, he's a choke magnet. He's an absolute choke magnet, and you just put him in that position, he will tap out. But in this case, he doesn't need to really fear any power from Tony. I think he can actually even crack Tony himself. He's fighting a 155er. It's really Chiesa's fight to choose how he wants to finish Tony Ferguson. And, he's probably going to submit him. I'm going to say round number 2. I think he takes his back, works him over a little bit. It would suck so bad if he pounds out Tony Ferguson. I'd rather him get choked out, but I think Chiesa wins this one. There's a slight chance he gets finished, Chiesa that is, but I don't see it being a very high likelihood. Next bout, we've got Marlon Vera, Chito, versus Davis and Figueiredo, plus 135 for Vera. Come back on Figueiredo, minus 160. I went back and forth on this one as well because oh man, it really depends which Vera we're going to see, because the Marlon Vera we've seen as of late ain't going to cut it against Figueiredo. He's a bigger dude. He's a younger guy. He hits just as hard as Figueiredo. Maybe Figueiredo hits a little bit harder, but he is from a lighter weight class. It's my initial thought process before doing the tape. With Figueiredo being more so a grappler at 135, not to say he's not, knocking dudes silly like he did to Rob Font. He hurt Rob Font on multiple occasions, but his grappling has just been the highlight recently, where you look at the way he handled Cody Garbrandt was incredibly impressive. The problem with that fight was that Cody beat him in that first round. He was winning that first round until Figueiredo went for those takedowns. So Figueiredo, his output at 135 is kind of waned a bit. He's very patient. He's kind of more of a counter striker. He leans back. He waits to try to catch his opponent. And with that, the old Marlon Vera, the old Cheeto, is tailor-made to beat him, where he just goes, he throws with reckless abandon. He's got a good chin to be able to eat the shots of Figueiredo. His takedown defense is solid, and he can just really put a high pace on Figueiredo to gas him out, make him make mistakes, make him shoot for takedowns, and just batter him. But we haven't seen that Cheeto in a while. And with Cheeto, he has these kind of weird spurts. Like he gets favored sometimes, like against Jose Aldo. And what's funny is that this is around the decline of Aldo. Aldo's losing fights. People are thinking he's done. I actually picked Aldo to win because, how are you not going to pick Aldo against Marlon Vera? Marlon Vera just beat Sean O'Malley via weird injury. And I made some money off of that, where Marlon was picking up steam in the second round. And then the third round, Aldo takes his back and just rides it out, and he loses. He wins that fight. Marlon's all pissed. That's what I'm most worried about this fight here. If Figueiredo, say, takes the back or controls Marlon Vera, who has been taken down recently. You see the fight against, Corey Sandhagen. It's like, dude, you see him kind of getting exposed for not having that momentum. Like he's a slow starter sometimes, and he doesn't really bring out that dog as much anymore. Like you see that. Like he lost to Corey, had a very uneventful fight with Pedro, and then he looked absolutely dog shit against Sean O'Malley. He just wasn't firing. He just wasn't going. And that's why I'm most worried about this fight. If Marlon doesn't do that, then Figueiredo's just going to outpoint him. He might try to take him down. It's hard for me to pick Figueiredo, like, if I'm being honest with you, because he's not really throwing a whole ton of output. And if Cody Garbrandt is able to take your punches and outpoint you in the first round and actually hurt, not hurt Figueiredo, but he hit him hard enough to be like, oh shit, maybe I should grapple with him, then Marlon Vera could do the same. And Marlon's got a way better chin. And if Marlon can take these punches, come, say, round number 2 or 3, when he starts picking up steam, I think he can possibly finish Figueiredo or hurt him enough to have a doctor stoppage. I'm still doubting Figueiredo at 135, right? There's going to be a guy like Marlon Vera who can take those shots and then just start going after him and fatiguing him. I'm thinking very similar to like Brandon Moreno, who's able to like just take the shots because his chin is good enough, and then start putting hands on Figueiredo, making him uncomfortable. But yeah, Figueiredo's karate stance and such, he's just a better overall counter striker than he is going first. And Marlon's got long teeps up the middle. He's got a really good jab, and he is training with Perillo. It just, they have to be like, dude, you had a shitty performance the last time out. Don't waste time here. Like a win over Figueiredo, a former champion at flyweight, that's going to hold a ton of weight. That's going to really erase a lot of that negative stuff that we saw against him and O'Malley, where he just never got going up until like the last round. In the last minute, he actually finally landed something significant on O'Malley to the body. But, he took that nasty knee up the middle. He took a ton of punishment, didn't even flinch. And here, if Davison is hitting him and Marlon is just like, okay, I'm awake now, and he starts like bum rushing him, landing elbows and maybe busting up Figueiredo, I think he can win this fight. Just the low output of Figueiredo recently is what's kind of making me worried. I think in the first fight at bantamweight against Rob Font, he was more so right to do so and try to counter, because anytime he would hit Rob Font, he would actually hurt him. But then he did try to grapple with Rob, and Rob was able to get back up. He put the pressure on Figueiredo, Rob did. It's just that any time he would hit again, Rob would just react poorly. And here, if Marlon can eat those punches and still maintain that pressure, I think he can out-volume and actually start piecing up Davison eventually, like round number 2, invest with the body early, and then maybe put him away in the third. But yeah, it's going to be a fun fight. This, to me, is like the fight to watch for damn sure. And I'm considering Cheeto, but if I'm being honest, like as much as I'm considering putting maybe even like a quarter unit on Cheeto just for like pride, it is going to be very disappointing if he falls back into those same traps. Like if I lose money on Cop and Cheeto Vera for them having the same game plan, I'm going to be really fucking pissed. But I will go Vera prediction-wise. Next bout, fun little fight here. Shira Magomedov, Shira Bullet, minus 275 versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, plus 220. Now, I will say this, like I'm picking Shira. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with Mikhail. But I will say this, Mikhail plus 220, worth a shot, just in case. The dude recently had his arm mangled. He said it wasn't broken. This was, what, a couple weeks ago? A month ago. Where Kevin took his arm, looked really bad. But as I do always, I look up on their Instagrams and such, and I also saw someone else posted, I forgot who posted this, but I was seeing it on Twitter as well, kind of like a talking point. But the dude is kind of accepting defeat. He's like, I guess I'm probably going to lose this fight, and I might have to go to KSW, is essentially the gist of it. But Mikhail, to talk about him briefly, he has a bit of a history of knocking out perceived Russian bums, undefeated Russian bums in the past. Now, there was what fight? It was John Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira, where Oleksiejczuk, he fought a Shamil Gamzatov. He was undefeated at the time. And was he undefeated, actually? Let me make sure. Yep, he was undefeated at that time. And he just beat the shit out of him. He was attacking the body. He ended up hitting him with an uppercut. He just stuffed the takedowns. He was just very one-dimensional, that guy. And then Oleksiejczuk just bodied him, because that's what he does. He has forward pressure, really good boxing, power in the hands, attacks the body. Shira has terrible boxing, mostly a kicker, throws a ton of kicks, really good movement, good cardio. And, they're going to let him get away with a ton of stuff in this fight. He's going to get away with eye pokes. He's going to get away with, like, low blows. He's going to attack the body of Mikhail. The reason I cannot necessarily pick Oleksiejczuk is that he might have some good moments there. But I think with Shira maybe kicking the arms of Mikhail, especially the right arm, I believe, the right arm that was kind of hurt, it's too much of a liability for Mikhail to not be able to throw after taking too many on those arms. And, Shira, terrible boxing, but he can throw punches. I think he's got a good chance to finish Mikhail, because he's been hurt to the body recently quite a bit. And on top of that, his kicks, Shira's, are very good. And if you can catch Mikhail kind of slipping a little bit, maybe with his hand down, especially if you've battered his arms, to him kind of having that slow reaction speed to put him back up, I think maybe Shira can catch him with a nice head kick and kind of wobble him. He's hard to knock out with punches, but if you hit him to the body, I think you can crumble him a bit. But the thing that makes Mikhail very intriguing in this matchup is that if he puts the pressure on Shira, I mean, even that bum Tricoli was able to land hands on Shira early, and just he puts himself against the cage, and he kind of puts himself as a sitting duck. Although he does move laterally and side to side, his boxing's crap. and Mikhail's got really good boxing. But I think that I will have to go with Shira to win this one by a decision, maybe a finish along the way, depending on if Mikhail's body gives out on him. He's still 29, though. It's crazy. But I am probably, Scout's honor, putting some money on Mikhail just as a like contingency plan, because I do think Shira's time is going to come, because they're trying to feed him dudes while they're out in the Middle East, so he gets that reception and he gets that knockout and like, oh my god, he's so great. But the dude ain't cutting it, right? He ain't cutting it in the top of the division, right? He's fighting in the number 39 in the world. He's listed at 25. No, man, he ain't going to be winning fights in the top 10. I just don't see it. He's just not well-rounded enough. Like, clearly, I think if Mikhail can take him down, I think he's a purple belt now. If he can take him down, I would start laughing my ass off, because I know Shira doesn't have a really good get-up game, doesn't really have a game off of his back other than just throwing strikes. And Mikhail's got some pretty good ground and pound, but I cannot trust him in this spot based off of just that negative perception of what's going on and him just taking a fight again after his arm kind of getting destroyed. So I will go Magomed by a decision. Next bout, we've got Corey Sandhagen Das versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Any relation by any chance to Khabib? They don't necessarily look alike, but I don't want to make that. Some say I don't want to be racist and say that they're related just because they have that beard. I don't want to make any assumptions, but they might be related. But yeah, minus 250 for Nurmagomedov. Come back on Corey Sandhagen plus 200. It's kind of crazy. Sandhagen's the more proven guy, plus 200. Why is he plus 200? Because Umar is Nurmagomedov. That's really it. And I think Umar's going to win by decision. Am I confident in it? More so, yes. I don't like the odds. I'm not going to bet Nurmagomedov at those odds, but he does have good wrestling. He is around the same. I guess not. I thought he was about the same size as Corey, who is 5'11". Nurmagomedov is 5'8". But the true kryptonite of Corey is two things. It is wrestling and Peter Yan. Peter Yan is just going to always have his number. But Corey's so good everywhere. Like, he's been improving his offensive wrestling, his jiu-jitsu. He's been always a really good striker on the feet. He's got good boxing, good kicks, good flying techniques, good spinning techniques. He's long. He's he has an inch reach on Nurmagomedov. The thing about why I'm picking Nurmagomedov is that although he's not as complete as a fighter as Corey Sandhagen, where he has maybe more tools, what Umar does bring to the table is really good wrestling, that daggy wrestling, and he is not a bum on the feet. He's got maybe not the best boxing, but his kicks are very good. He's got a very educated kicking game, good kicks to the body, side kicks, kind of like a karate style. He is a, what the hell is his name? He's a doctor now. What was his name? Shabit? What was his name? Shabit, Magomed Shapirov. Was it Sherbert? For real, I don't remember his name. I can picture his like Abraham Lincoln face. Now I'm like, for real, I need to figure this out. Let's figure it out real quick. Who fought him? Let's go with. I'm trying to do like that reverse 10 degrees of what is his name? 10 degrees of Kevin Bacon. So Giga fought Calvin Kattar, and Calvin Kattar fought Zabit Magomed Shapirov. Very similar to Zabit. I keep calling him Shabit. Anyways, yeah, very similar to Zabit, the kicking style. Very dynamic on the feet. But, I think Umar, obviously better gas tanks. Zabit was never going to cut it in the top of the division. After 5 rounds, he would have been dead. But Umar, he has been actually training with Usman Nurmagomedov, who is the Bellator lightweight champion, who is very similar to Corey Sandhagen in height. And I can guarantee you this is going to be a very grappling-heavy affair where Umar will be getting takedowns. The issue with Corey, and I go back, and you could say maybe he's a different fighter since the fight with Dillashaw. But Dillashaw was winning minutes against Corey by taking his back, getting him to the ground, and just chipping away at him. Like, on the feet, they were pretty close, and then visually, Dillashaw taking his back and then controlling him for a bit was what led him to win that decision. You can disagree with it, but that's what happened here. And Umar, he's not going to be completely outmatched on the feet. And what's crazy is that he did have a really tough fight his last time against that dude, Almabayev. Yeah, Beksat Almabayev. He got hit with a very hard shot, hit him in the temple. And you could say, ah ha ha, it proves that he sucks. To me, it kind of shows that the contrary, that he was able to recover. He shot for a takedown, and he's like, I am not losing. I'm just going to do my best to win this fight on the ground. And he did. He won that decision 30-27. Had a scary moment. He had some adversity, and he's like, yo, I'm going to do what I need to do. And in this case, him shelling out, getting his cousin. And what's funny is that with Bilal just saying that, like, yeah, with Khabib in my corner, well, not in his corner physically, but with Khabib in my camp, he broke down the type of fighter that Leon is, and we were able to beat him. What's to say they didn't do that with Corey Sandhagen? Just take him down. Umar's going to be able to take him down. I think Corey's offensive wrestling has gotten better, but off of his back, I think there's still a lot to be desired. But he's been away for a little bit. He did get his arm injured, if I recall, his elbow injured against Rob Font, where he did have a really grappling heavy game plan, and he uses that big body well. But against Nurmagomedov, I think it's not necessarily going to be the best option. Where I think Nurmagomedov, if he does get taken down, he'll pop right back up, and he'll either keep it on the feet long enough for him to shoot for a takedown. He's going to have to be very, very careful not to shoot incredibly low, because Corey can probably go for a flying technique. But ultimately, I do think that if Nurmagomedov can get it to the ground and dominate Corey, which I'm giving Corey the benefit of the doubt that he is obviously training for this, that if he does dominate Corey on the ground, he can lead to a submission along the way. But I'm going to give Corey the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say he loses this one by a decision here, where it could be 49-47, 49-46, or 49-47, or sorry, 48-47, or maybe Corey wins some rounds by just kind of stuffing takedowns. And then say later, last two rounds, Umar does more of like a striking heavy approach early and then gets those takedowns late. But yeah, I think with Umar, this could be obviously I can't believe he's number 6, but yeah, this could put him in contention to fight for the title, beating essentially the number 1 contender in Corey Sandhagen. Yeah, I like Corey a lot, but he's always given me those vibes like he's a good fighter, but he can get bullied around. Like, I look at the Song Yadong fight. Song was just kind of pushing him off of him. He was just not strong enough. To me, he's got a bit of a bird chest syndrome, where he's got like light bones or hollow bones, but he's a very dangerous pointy guy. Like, I mean, pointy like elbows and knees and such. So I would not be surprised here, right? Corey is a great fighter, and if he can land something unorthodox on Umar, it'd be awesome. But trend to me is Umar's going to use that wrestling and eat up at the time. And as long as he does enough for the Abu Dhabi crowd to be happy, those judges are going to give him the fight. So I will go with Umar Nurmagomedov to win this by a decision, unanimous. So let me know what you think in the comments. I think this is going to be a good fight card. I don't know what time it's going to start. Hopefully it starts early, because I got shit to do. I am tired of like last night's card, the 304, eating up all my damn day. Like, I want to go hit some fucking baseballs, you know what I mean? I go to the batting cages and I can't, because I'm like, oh, the fights are going to start. Like, I don't know if that's like out there, if you're like that, like when there is a fight card and it starts like in like a few hours, like say it's 3 o'clock and it starts at 5, I'm like, wow, I can't leave because the fucking fights are going to start. I don't want to miss anything. I'm very much so a casual loser when it comes to that. But yeah, dude, like, I'm hoping these just get over with early, because it's going to be in Abu Dhabi. I'm hoping they start at noon. I think it's also on ABC. It's another thing I completely forgot about. But yeah, let me know what you think about the predictions. Let me know what your bets are. Like, share, comment. Mostly comment. Beard's coming back, so I'm less punchable, I would hope. But yeah, Johnny TigerBomb, I will see you next week.